Hi folks, good to see you back. This is the third episode of the Global Acts of Unity Q&A sessions. In this series of videos, we are exploring some of the questions that GAU gets asked when we give presentations. There are also questions sent in by email. You can be part of this series by having your question asked. All you need to do is email it in to mike@globalactsofunity.com and it will feature in one of the episodes. So, on with the questions. So Marlena from Halifax asks, what was it like being David's older brother? Well, it was a roller coaster, I will tell you that. David was always interesting to be around. You never knew exactly what would happen next. David as a baby was incredibly happy, smiling, inquisitive. He used to have this smile, this giggle, this laugh that could charm anyone. And that carried on right the way through his life. You know, he was the life and soul. When he was a baby, he used to escape from his cot and 9 times out of 10 come looking for me. And quite often, Mum and Dad would find David snuggled up in my bed alongside me. David liked a bit of mischief as well. He would argue that black was white on occasion. He would cause mischief just for the fun of it. He loved a good argument, and he caused quite a few over the years, and then had to use his charm to get out of it. He was one of these people that could make friends easily with both men and women. And David had quite a few lady friends throughout the years. But I think the best thing about him was I had troubled times during my life. There's things that happened. I had a mental health breakdown, and David was there to help me get through it. And that was one of the things between David and I. It was, you could always count on each other. There was nothing I liked more than going for a beer with David and Chris, one of our best mates, or is our best mate, from donkey's years. We'd go and play pool or darts down at the British Legion, occasionally snooker, and we would have a laugh and a giggle, and then we would hit the dancing. It was exciting being his brother. There were ups and downs, as there always is in a relationship. But there were plenty more ups than there were downs. David at school was seriously annoying. He just seemed to have a natural ability for sports, but he really wasn't bothered by them. He could play football, He was good at rugby. He just seemed to have this, he could pick up a sport very quickly, where I had to practice, must try harder. You know, David just seemed to bob along, and then his musical ability was, he played quite a few different instruments, and he played for Perth Youth Brass Band. He was quite good. He could have progressed farther in his playing of music. But there, David was always not that bothered. But he could play. I played classical guitar. I wanted to be the biggest rock star that ever been. And I thought, like one of my heroes, I would learn to play classical guitar. I practiced for hour upon hour upon hour. David came into my room one day, looked at the music that I was playing, had 10 minutes playing around with my guitar, and then played it note perfect. It was so annoying, as you could guess. David was just an ordinary person. You know, he had his good side, he had his bad sides. Yeah. David, like everybody else, like myself, he made bad decisions. He did less than honourable deeds at times. He did not always do what was right. In short, my brother was opinionated. He was stubborn. He was argumentative. However, I know that he loved me, and I am. I still do. He went into areas of danger to help his fellow man, regardless of colour, culture, faith, politics. He was a true hero. And those humanitarian workers like him are all our modern day heroes. Over the years of David's life, he made many friends. He affected many lives, many for the good, some for the worse. He made a big impact wherever he went. And it's not just my family's lives, my mum and dad, although they've passed on, his daughters, his wife, my boys, his godmother. It's not just our lives that have been affected. It's not just us that misses him. There are many, many people who miss David to this day. And this series is not just for Global Acts of Unity. It's to remember David and hopefully bring a smile. Because certainly, Marlena, your question has brought back memories which have brought a smile to my face. So thank you kindly. Now to Robert of Dagenham's question. Would we be better off kicking all non-whites, non-Christian and non-British people out of the United Kingdom? Now this is a controversial question. Now I have said on numerous occasions that there are no boundaries to the questions that can be asked. So we will treat this question with respect, and we will treat Robert with respect. We will look at this question bit by bit. So first of all, we will look at the non-white issue of this question. According to the 2011 census, just over 20% of the United Kingdom's population identified as non-white. Now we have a population of over 67 million people. That means in one stroke, you are removing 13.4 million people from our nation, from the economy. The next issue with the colour of our skin deciding on where we live is who is going to decide on a person's whiteness? Who's going to decide on folk of mixed race? Is it only going to be British-born whites who get to stay in the country? Because in that case, you're going to have a real problem. Because most of the population have some immigrancy into this country in their history. Certainly, my family emigrated from Ireland way back in the 1700s. So, do I get kicked out? So on to the next part of the question, and that was faith deciding on whether you got to live within the United Kingdom or not. This means that over 26 million people would be removed from the United Kingdom. So the questions I ask are, what would this do to the economy? Where are they going to go? Who's going to pay for it? Who's going to do the jobs that they were doing? Who is going to be making the difference to the government coffers from income tax drop? Okay, so we have kicked out all the non-whites out of the country. We have kicked out all the non-Christian people out of the country. And now, according to the question, we're going to kick out people of non-British heritage, born in Britain. So how do you measure that? Now, by what definition do you decide on someone not being British? Does it go on where you were born? Well, there's plenty of people who were the sons or daughters of serving personnel who were born in other countries while serving their country. Are they not British? And what about the many people of different cultures, different faiths, who have been born in Britain, who are the sons and daughters of people being born in Britain? Are they not British? Do you have to go back 4 or 5 generations or even more? So does British mean being born Anglo-Saxon? I can even find a statistic that I could trust. on the internet to see how many people of the United Kingdom were of Anglo-Saxon heritage. Who's going to decide on this? Who's going to decide on the rules? So let's say, for argument's sake, that all the people of Britain who are non-white, non-Christian, non-British have been removed. So that would be certainly upwards of 30 million people. All right. What removing 30 million people from the United Kingdom, all the various jobs that they do that we are reliant on, who's going to fill their places? Who is going to do their jobs? Again, I asked that question. 30 million people removed from the income tax collection. Who's going to pay their income tax? And then what's the rest of the world going to do? You know, they are not going to do business with us. They are not going to help the United Kingdom, give us loans and things like that, because we're not trusted. We would not be trustworthy. We would be a pariah of the world, and the people of Britain would suffer. But not only that, what about the remaining people in the United Kingdom? How many would leave? I certainly would, for a start. And I know many, many other people who would. I would emigrate in a second if these rules, if these restrictions were brought in. It is not workable. The tapestry that makes up the United Kingdom is made up of many different coloured threads, different thicknesses, different tensions, different colours. And it is same with the tapestry of life in the United Kingdom. We need different colours. We need different cultures. We need different faiths. It is the only way that we can progress as a nation. And even more than that, we treat every person of whatever colour, of whatever culture, of whatever faith. We treat every person with respect and dignity. So Luke from Sheffield sent in this question. If I could speak to my brother's murderer right now, what would I have to say to them? Well, Mohammed Enwazi, otherwise known as Jihadi John, is dead. He was killed in an airstrike in Syria some time back now. And you know something? We don't want to see them dead. If Enwazi walked in that door now and said, Mike, what we were doing was wrong. What we were doing was not for or about Islam, I would shake his hand. If he said, Mike, I want to join you on what we call the kindness tour, this effort to make the world our society, our communities a more kinder, tolerant place to live in. If he wanted to join the kindness tour, I would shake his hand and call him brother. I don't hate him, Wazzy, but also, of course, do not love him. I didn't want to see him dead because I wanted him to see justice, to face justice. And certainly now, rather than being in the paradise that he had hoped, I am sure that he will be facing Allah's wrath, Allah's justice, and I am sure that he will be in the hellfire. Jenny from Corby asked me, what is my favourite memory of my brother David? My favourite memory goes back to when we were teenagers. Both David and I were in the Scouts Association, and we were on a scout camp quite a few miles away from home, and it was David's first camp. So, like a big brother, I enjoyed showing him the ropes and showing him around, and of course taking the mickey a little bit, as a big brother always does. So the camp is what we call a greenfield site. There are no toilet facilities, you are sleeping in tents, and what you do is dig a pit and you build a toilet over it. But we hadn't got this far. David came up to me and he says, Bruv, Mike, I need a pee. So looking around, there was a tree line. I said, why don't you just go into the trees? But what I didn't know, there was an electric fence at the edge of the wood. So David went up, unzipped, and peed on the electric fence. The howl woke up every bit of wildlife for miles around. Everybody looked round and immediately had guessed what was happening. David was jumping up and down, like a mad thing with his hands over his groin. Everybody, including myself, fell about laughing. Another great memory was when our friend Chris, David and myself went golfing one day on the North Inch in Perth. The day started off bright and cheery, and we were playing our game of golf, and then the clouds rolled in, thunder appeared, rain lashed down, lightning, and David, Chris and myself got absolutely soaked playing golf, and it turned into a bit of a mud bath. But it was like the three of us against the world. It was the three of us against nature. We were losing, but we were having fun doing it. I can remember the time when David and I took off into the hills above Perth to go fishing on the River Tay. We were fly fishing for trout and salmon, and it was the perfect day, absolutely gorgeous. And David was stood on one side, one rock, fishing downstream, and I was fishing from another rock about 10-15 yards away, fishing upstream. And it was just, we weren't talking, it was just peace and quiet, the sound of the river, the sound of the wildlife, and it was magical. And I turned round to see how David was doing. David was sat on the bank, and all he was doing was watching me fish. And he said it was the most poetical thing he had ever seen. Just the movement of the fly line, the flow of the river. It was a really wonderful day. But we didn't catch anything. I am incredibly lucky, I know. I have many, many happy memories from the point that David came into our lives as a baby, right the way up to when he went to Syria. These memories get me through the difficult times. These memories bring a smile. They bring back the feeling of being there at the time. They bring back the love that there was between us as a family. I can't say I have one memory that is better than any other. So as we come to the end of this episode, I hope that this video has brought you a smile or two and maybe even a tear. I hope you will join us in the further episodes to come. So from me, take care. Bye. Hi folks. About half of the work that Global Acts of Unity does is unfunded. It comes from my own pocket. If you would like to help the work of Global Acts of Unity, then we have a GoFundMe page. The links are below and also in the description of the video. Even £1 would help. But if you can't afford that, then no worries. You can always share our videos and like and subscribe to our channel. It would be deeply appreciated.